THINGKHO LE MALCHA, by KSO Media and Documentation Cell, issue number 51, Wednesday, 1 November, 2023. Headlines: KSO GHQ calls 48 hours shutdown in Kuki-dominated hill districts in protest against deployment of state forces and more. Looting of government armories continues, curfew imposed in Imphal. Kuki NP Tangnupal, Meitei police commandos torch Kuki houses, vehicles, loot huge amount of cash. KOTU calls 48-hour total shutdown in Kangpokpi. ITLF criticizes center government, center forces for allowing Meitei commandos to loot, burn, and terrorize Kuki-zo villages. Mizoram, MNF clarifies NDA affiliation, voices concerns. Ansem calls eco-blockade in all Naga areas from NOV. Rajnath Singh appeals Meitei, Kuki communities in Manipur to sit together to end trust deficit between them. Cut and its significance. Shivang cut. Kuki victims update as on October 16, 2023. Deaths, 146. Villages burnt, 200 plus. Houses burnt, 7,000 plus. Churches and synagogues burnt, 360. Displaced persons, 41,425. THINGKHO LE MALCHA, Cut Chibai. Photo from left to right. Mr. Cut 1985 Lal Suang Tunzing, Naramarg, Lamka. Pu JF Rothangliana, MLA Sikpur Assembly Constituency. Former President Kuki National Assembly. Miss KUT 1985 Rose Lalthangnam, Bungmuel, Lamka. KSO GHQ calls 48 hours shutdown in Kuki-dominated hill districts in protest against deployment of state forces and more. Taking strong exception to the continued stationing and additional deployment of Manipur police commandos and more, the border town of Manipur, in the wee hours of November 1, 2023, the Kuki Students Organization General Headquarters, KSO GHQ, the apex student body of the Kukis, has called 48 hours total shutdown in all Kuki-dominated hill districts of Manipur from midnight of November 1. While the demand for withdrawal of the state forces in the aforesaid town has been gaining momentum. Following their excesses and total disregard to civil rights and liberties, the move of the state government in forcefully deploying a convoy of 19 vehicles carrying Manipur police commandos and the Arambai Tengal has added more fuel to the fire in the already volatile situation, KSO GHQ said in a statement issued on Wednesday. The KSO said, the junta-like trigger-happy police commandos ransacked, looted and burnt down houses and vehicles belonging to Kuki-zo people at Sinam village stretching along the Indo-Myanmar road in Tangnupal district of Manipur. In the face of police brute force and excesses upon innocent civilians, hundreds of Sinam villagers fled their homes and hid in the jungle in a bid to save their lives, as most of them, including women and children, got injuries while running for their lives in the dead of the night. It is also highly condemnable the manner in which extensive, all-out search and combing operation is being conducted by the state forces in Kuki-zo inhabited more border area wherein every male person bears the brunt of police brute force as they are beaten black and blue by the police commandos at will, let alone the vandalization and lootings of house properties, it said. The Kuki student body also stated that the prejudices of chauvinistic N. Biren Singh government has been manifested time and again with the convening of emergency cabinet meeting last night, in which a whopping amount of Rs.50,000,000 ex gratia compensation was sanctioned, including granting of a suitable job to the next of kin of the slain Meitei police officer. Contrarily, the Meitei-centric majoritarian government has not delivered a tinge of justice till date to the family of Mr. Onkamang Haokip, a Kuki-zo police sub-inspector who was shot dead by the Meiteis while he was in the line of duty, KSO accused. Alleging impartial justice has been abruptly denied to the minority Kuki-zo community as there has been no fairness in delivering justice to the victims in the ongoing ethnic violence, the KSO said. The modus operandi of applying different yardsticks to different communities, the Meiteis and Kuki-zo, in the sphere of granting compensation to, has emboldened and sheds a clear, undiminished light of their total separation on ethnic lines, the KSO also said. The present crisis in Manipur could have been averted had the Union Home Minister, Amit Shah, fulfilled his promises, during his visit to Churachandpur and more on May 30 and June 1, 2023, to withdraw police commandos from more within 3 days, and had the central leadership heeded to the repeated pleas and clarion calls of Kuki NP Manipur, Kuki NP Tangnupal and Hill Tribal Council more to withdraw state forces and more in the interest of peace and normalcy in the area. It argued that the Government of India has the bounden duty to withdraw state forces from more, which has been the long-pending collective demand of Kuki-zo people, without any further delay if more bloodshed and violence are to be avoided. Sheer militarization and or deployment of more and more number of state forces and more will rather escalate the volatile situation. In view of the Meitei's tyrannical misgovernance at this emergent wartime situation, the Kuki Students Organization, GHQ, strongly called on the central leadership right from the Prime Minister's office to the Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, to recall and withdraw all the state forces from more, thereby deploying competent and high-ranking Kuki-zo police officers to be assisted by the Central Security Forces in maintaining law and order in the border town. The sincerity and seriousness of the central government in ushering peaceful and conducive atmosphere for devising lasting political solution to the Kuki people shall be revealed and tested in its dealing of the current crisis and more, it added. The KSO demanded unconditional and immediate withdrawal of all the state forces and every Meitei police, IRB and Mr. personnel from more. In the event of any untoward incident, of violence occurring in the border town, the government shall be held responsible, it warned. Looting of government armories continues, curfew imposed in Impal. Amidst the complete militarization and terrorization of innocent Kukis at the border town of Moor, the Meitei radical groups and Meitei mobs, in their attempt to vent out their angst towards the Kuki people for retaliatory purpose, reportedly looted government armories at First Manipur Rifles, Old Lambulane, Impal. Heavy firing between an armed Meitei mob numbering over 3,000 and the Manipur Rifles has been reported in the heart of Impal city. As per reports, locals said the mob gathered at the palace compound of Laishemba Sanajaba, the BJP Rajya Sabha MP and a member of the Manipur royal family, in the afternoon. Several were armed, they claimed. The incidents occurred on Wednesday around 6 p.m. A viral video clip of the incident indicated the looting of sophisticated arms and ammunitions. Sounds of several gunshots were heard in the viral video. It has been learnt from reliable sources that several sophisticated arms and ammunitions from the police camp was taken away. Some social media users even said that the arms taken away by the Arambai Tengal and Meitei Lipun were stocked in palace compound, Impal. However, TLM could not independently verify the veracity of the arms looted in First MR, with the situation in Impal turning uglier. The concerned district magistrates have imposed curfew in Impal East and Impal West districts. Coincidentally, the commander-in-chief of Arambai Tengal Korangamba Kuman, on his social media handle, summoned all the cadres of Arambai Tengal for a major action, indicating the pre-planned looting of government armories once again. Earlier in the day, the Meitei Tutelar King, Laishemba Sanajaba, MP, Rajya Sabha, had also instructed all his devotees to get prepared, Samsaro Akesa in Manipuri language, indicating their plan to wage an ugly war against the Kukizo community. Indeed, the continued looting of government armories is a pre-planned event, and the two notorious leaders of the Meitei radical group's social media post is a testament of the fact. Meanwhile, the concerned social media platforms administrators or users have issued strictures to all not to post the incidents of looting armories in all their social media platforms. Kuki NP Tengnupal, Meitei police commandos torch Kuki houses, vehicles, loot huge amount of cash. The Kuki NP Tengnupal district has alleged that combined team of Meitei militants and Manipur police commandos had burnt down houses and vehicles and looted money at Sinam village in Manipur's Tengnupal district. The Kuki NP Tengnupal district vehemently condemned the burning down of houses and properties and looting villagers' hard-earned money including church money. Haokip, vice president of Kuki NP Tengnupal, external, said that the incident occurred at around 2:30 p.m. of October 31st. When the womenfolk blocked the combined team of police commandos, Arambai Tengal and Meitei Lipun who were wearing state police commando uniforms. He also alleged that the Arambai Tengal, Meitei Lipun masquerading as police commandos were moving together with state police commando towards Moor and they opened fire at womenfolk and injured some of them when the women halted them at Sinam village, Tengnupal district. He said that the village volunteers who guarded the village retaliated and the exchange of fire lasted for about 1 hour. He continued that following the incident, personnel of Assam Rifles rushed to the spot and intervened and asked the village volunteers to cease fire, taking advantage of the presence of the Assam Rifles. The Meitei police and their cohorts burnt down houses, vehicles and damaged properties. They also looted money from houses including the village church, asserted T. Haokip. He also pointed out that the Meitei police burnt down 2 residential houses to ashes and 6 vehicles including 4 numbers of 2-wheeler vehicles while 7 other vehicles were also damaged. The village land papers were also taken away by the Meitei police, he added. He said that fortunately, one officer of the Assam Rifles intervened and prevented the Meitei terror groups from burning the entire village. KOTU calls 48-hour total shutdown in Kangpokpi. The Committee on Tribal Unity, or KOTU Sutter Hills Kangpokpi and the Kuki Students Organization General Headquarters imposed a 48-hour total shutdown in all Kukizo-dominated areas in Manipur. The KOTU's total shutdown will begin from 6 a.m. of November 2. KOTU's media cell coordinator, Ing Loan Kipjen said that the committee is seriously disturbed to learn that the Meitei insurgents disguised as special commandos, burnt down several houses and vehicles, looted many houses including church offerings at Sinam village along Infilmore Road. He said that in protest against the anti-national activities of Meitei insurgents in the border town Moor, the committee decided to impose a 48-hour total shutdown in Kangpokpi district from early morning of November 2 from 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. of November 4. He continued that the armed Meitei insurgents in Myanmar are a part of the anti-democratic alliance and are seeking refuge in Moor. The attempt to reinforce state forces in Moor is to provide a safe route for transnational entry of Meitei insurgents, he added. He also said the committee affirmed that it shall launch various forms of intensified democratic agitation until our demands for complete withdrawal of Meitei insurgents and Meitei forces are met, and any untoward incident arising out of this will be the sole responsibility of the head of the state. Emergency services, press, and quota units will be exempted from the purview of the total shutdown. ITLF criticizes center government, center forces for allowing Meitei commandos to loot, burn, and terrorize Kuki villages. Lambasting the government of India's failure in materializing its earlier assurance for withdrawing Manipur state forces from Moor, the border town, the Indigenous Tribal Leaders Forum, ITLF, has asked why the Meitei police commandos were now allowed to loot, burn, and terrorize the Kuki villages in presence of central security forces. The Tribal Forum said, the presence of Meitei police personnel, in Moor, is leading to tension and heightening the insecurity of tribals. In a statement issued on Wednesday, ITLF leader, Ginzov Walzong, said the process of terrorizing Kuki tribals by Meitei police commandos in the border town of Moor has begun, with 12 innocent villagers including a handicapped man arrested from their homes in an operation today. Commandos also looted and burnt tribal houses yesterday at Sinam village on the way to Moor, he said, following the killing of Meitei police officer Chingtham Anand Kumar yesterday by unknown assailants. More than 20 vehicles carrying Manipur commandos were sent to the area as reinforcements. On the way, the team burnt down 2 houses, 4 two-wheelers, and 2 four-wheelers at Sinam village. The commandos also looted money amounting to lakhs of rupees and stole the village registration papers, ITLF alleged. Today morning, a joint operation with the Assam Rifles was carried out at Phacham Veng and Gam Nam Veng and Moor. Shockingly, even the chairman of Gam Nam Veng was detained because his children had a toy binoculars. The detained persons were released after 12 hours. All those detained were innocent villagers, including Luncha Haokip, a handicap. Witnesses said the Assam Rifles escorted the commandos to Moor and gave them a free hand during the operation. To compound the woes of residents, a complete curfew has been imposed in Moor, with people unable to buy rations. Yesterday, a team of Manipur commandos also set fire to the wall of remembrance structure at Hoikim village in Moor around 11 a.m. They also burned and vandalized temporary sheds and dispersed women participating in a sit-in protest. ITLF claimed that during his visit to the strife-torn Manipur in May, the Home Minister Amit Shah had given assurance that all commandos would be removed from Moor within 3 days, but nothing was done. When the Indigenous Tribal Leaders Forum, ITLF, last met the minister in Delhi, we requested him to remove Meitei police personnel from all hill areas. We were assured that Meitei commandos would not be allowed to do things on their own and would always be accompanied by central forces, it added. Mizoram, MNF clarifies NDA affiliation, voices concerns. Asval, the Mizoram National Front, MNF, convened a press conference to shed light on their affiliation with the National Democratic Alliance, NDA, and to raise concerns about the plight of their brethren in Manipur. MNF's inclusion in NDA is due to alliance against Congress, not alignment with Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, said VL Krashnasova, MNF's media and publicity in charge. The MNF remains committed to its distinct identity within the alliance, driven by its mission to protect and advocate for the interests of Mizoram, he added. During the press conference, the MNF also expressed grave concerns over the alleged suppression of their efforts to address the suffering of the Zo brethren in Manipur. The MNF accused the Manipur BJP government, along with Manipur police, Meitei organizations, Arambai Tengal, and Meitei Lipan, of allegedly orchestrating actions that aim to annihilate Mizoram's brethren, who have endured the consequences of ethnic clashes. In this context, Krashnasova said, C. Laura Sangha, MNF MP in the Lok Sabha, and K. Vanmalvina, Rajya Sabha MP, had sought to raise awareness about the predicament in Parliament. However, their attempts were reportedly met with silencing and restrictions, both in parliamentary sessions and within NDA meetings. This alleged suppression of their voices led them to discontinue their participation in NDA meetings. ANSAM calls eco-blockade in all Naga areas from NOV. The All Naga Students Association Manipur, ANSAM, has declared to launch economic blockade in all the Naga areas of Manipur from 6 p.m. of November 3 until the memorandum of agreement it had signed with the state government is implemented. A statement issued on Tuesday stated that the decision was taken in the Second Legislative Assembly of ANSAM for the tenure 2022 to 2024, held on October 31 at TAMEI headquarter, Tamenglong, the August House comprising the constituent units and subordinate bodies of ANSAM had unanimously resolved to resume the suspended agitation from November 3, 2023, and intensify the agitation in the event of failing to materialize the Memorandum of Agreement, MOA, signed between state government and ANSAM on May 26, 2023, it said. In the Memorandum of Agreement, the state government had assured ANSAM leaders to restore internet connectivity in the state within 5 days, in 3 working days, subject to assessment of law and order conditions. It was also agreed that the results of 190, 145 plus 45 Street Special Drive, posts of assistant professors to be engaged on contract basis for one academic session should be declared on or before November 2. Ansem stated that the association was irked by the further extension of blanket internet ban in the state through government order on October 31, which negated the agreed point number 1 of the MOA that has breached the mutual trust amongst the parties, while taking serious note of the shortage of teachers in government colleges. It said the state government should implement the agreed point number 2 of the MOA to declare the result of 145 plus 45 Street Special Drive posts of assistant professors on or before November 2 as assured by Chief Minister of Manipur. Ansem requested all its constituent units and subordinate bodies to strictly enforce the proposed economic blockade in their respective jurisdictions to withstand and fight for the rights and for implementation of the agreed points in the Memorandum of Agreement, MOA, in letter and spirit. It further appealed to the government officials and public for utmost cooperation and understanding during the course of the agitation. Rajnath Singh appeals Meitei, Kuki communities in Manipur to sit together to end trust deficit between them. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh on Wednesday made a fervent appeal to the warring Meitei and Kuki communities in Manipur to sit together and have a heart-to-heart conversation to end the trust deficit between the two sides. In an address at an election rally in this southernmost part of Mizoram bordering Myanmar, Singh said violence is no solution to any problem and the two communities in Manipur must talk to each other to improve the situation in the troubled state. The northeast has been peaceful in the last 9 years. However, we have witnessed violence in Manipur and it is painful for us. Singh said, violence is no solution to any problem. What we need is heart-to-heart conversation. I appeal to both the communities to sit together and end trust deficit. Singh added Manipur had been witnessing large-scale violence in the last few months because of hostilities between the Meitei and Kuki communities. The senior BJP leader said, I want to categorically say that violence, did not take place because of any political party. It happened because of certain situations. The defense minister also accused the Congress of trying to exploit the situation in Manipur for political gain. When the situation in Manipur was deteriorating, Congress tried its best to do politics over it. He said, there is a need to keep the entire country, including Mizoram and Northeast, away from the negative politics of Congress, he added. Kut and its significance. What is Kut? Kut means festival in many dialects of the Kuki tribes. Kuki people have been celebrating many Kuts or festivals since olden days. For instance, Mim Kut is celebrated after the harvest of Rabi crop Mim, Job's year, in early part of the year. Mim Kut is a state-recognized festival for the Kukis in Nagaland. Chaphao Kut is celebrated at the onset of spring when the mowed-down vegetations are dried in the sun and readied for burning down for jumming cultivation in anticipation of the food crops that will be sown soon. Hun Kut or simply Hun is celebrated after seed sowing in summer. Hun Day, April 17, is declared recently a restricted holiday by Manipur government. Lom Kut is celebrated when the traditional Lom, labor team, completes all the necessary labors of seed sowings and weedings. In later part of the year, i.e., in autumn, Chong Kut is celebrated when farmers finish harvesting their food crops, especially paddy, chong, giving thanks to the Almighty for giving them the fruits of their year-long labor. In this way, Kuki people have celebrated various Kuts, festivals, in tune with the changing seasons of the year, marking specific events. In other words, right from the beginning of the seed sowing till the harvest, the Kuki people who have been traditionally farmers celebrated each stage of the development of the food crops. The present Shivang, autumn, Kut or simply Kut is perhaps derived from Chong Kut to mark the season of paddy harvest. Olden Kut in olden days Kuts were celebrated with varied traditional fervor. Folk dances such as Sagwal Kengkai, Sudalam, modern bamboo dance, Fitlam, Lamkwal, etc. were performed as merrymaking. Traditional sports like Sudamko, a form of javelin throw, Kunkle/Sealkal, high jump/jumping over a standing Mathin, Kibuit/Buanchual, wrestling, etc. were showcased to the enthusiastic spectators. In the same way, traditional musical instruments such as gozum, bagpipe, thiel, flute, penkal, trumpet, feepit, lemelhai, etc. were played and competitions in these events were organized. The whole celebration of Kuts lasted generally from 3 days to a week. Modern Kut. Fast forward to modern day, the modern Kuts are celebrated the way we see today. The Kut in question may be dated back to 1979 when state-level Shivang Kut celebration was first held at Keithalmanbi village in Kangpokpi district. One significant addition to the Shivang Kut celebration is beauty contest, which came to be famous as Miss Kut. Years later Shivang was deleted for want of commonality amongst the Kut celebrating tribes. Manipur state government declared Kut a state holiday in 1990. The week-long celebration became a one-day extravaganza and the village-level festivity has become a state-level celebration. The format may change or the perception towards Kut celebrations may differ now, but the fact remains that it is a significant event which stands as proof that Kuki people walk together with time and they can never forget the giver of all harvests. This year, in view of the current situation in Manipur, Kut is not celebrated but observed in village level as day of prayer for peace and paying of homage to the departed martyrs. Shivang Kut. For the first time in India's independent history, we the Kukis are unable to celebrate the auspicious Shivang Kut festival. We are denied our cultural rights as enshrined in Article 29. Kut is a term often used interchangeably with festival or harvesting festival, and it holds significant cultural importance for the THINGKHO Le Malcha community. The observance of Kut is rooted in three fundamental principles. It serves as a time for the hardworking agricultural community to take a break from their labor and enjoy recreational activities, as an expression of gratitude to the deity they worship for the bountiful harvest, and as a means of connecting the community with the supernatural forces for collective well-being. Kut is celebrated by various ethnic groups that were historically referred to as the Kuki Chinlushai in colonial times. These groups are scattered across regions that now constitute present-day states like Mizoram, Tripura, Manipur, Assam, Bangladesh, and Burma. They share a common belief that their ancestors emerged from the earth through a capstone known as Chinlung, Sinlung, or Kol. The festival is recognized by different names among the various subcommunities within the THINGKHO Le Malcha group. For example, it is called Pal Kut in Mizoram and is celebrated over 2 days in December each year. Its primary purpose is to express gratitude to the deities for a successful harvest, and the festivities involve singing, dancing, and merrymaking. How Shivang Kut was traditionally celebrated. The term Shivang translates to autumn in the Thada Kuki dialect, and Shivang Kut is a post-harvest festival observed by the Thada-speaking Kuki group. Traditionally, it involves merrymaking, the singing of folk songs, the consumption of rice beer, Jew, dancing, and traditional sports like greased pole climbing, high jump, long jump, wrestling, and more. In the past, the Kut festival was primarily important in the religio-cultural sense. The underlying principle behind the observance was to give credits to the gods for the abundant harvest. It was a form of communication by the community to the supernatural elements and was originally inspired by a socio-religious function. Kut was observed differently with no systematic planning, elaborate programs, expensive budget, or scheduled date. It was not in practice to mark out a specific day to commemorate the celebration of the post-harvest festival. The celebration was confined within a village and each village celebrates it differently. Modern-day celebration of Kut festival. Kut has been formally celebrated since the year 1979 in the state of Manipur. It is celebrated on November 1st of every year with the following items as a crucial part of the program: an invocation prayer, cultural dances, songs, cultural displays, beauty contest, speeches from invited dignitaries who are either political leaders, government officials, particularly bureaucrats, or decorated local persona in different fields of accomplishments. Meanings and significance of folk dances in Kut festival. Folk dances are performed during Kut festival. These performances included the Sai Chongai dance, Julai Khan, Sagal Kenkai, Salu Lap Lam, and Athingal Hangam. The Sai, animal ritual, and Chongai, paddy ritual, dances hold equal importance, with the former performed by men and the latter by women. In the Sai ceremony, it was the duty of men to hunt game and provide ample meat for their families, while women were responsible for procuring abundant grain. The term Sa signifies animals, and Ai is commonly interpreted as subjugation, reflecting a ritual of asserting complete dominance over the animals killed. The Sai ceremony involved a man who had hunted a tiger, an eagle, a wild bear, a squirrel, or a jungle cock/partridge. According to Kailal Luvam, if the spirits of the animals killed were not subjugated in a ritual, the hunter's family could face ill health or misfortune. The ritual included a dramatized play, during which an egg was placed in the mouth of a deceased tiger, and its head was pierced with a bamboo spike. In this make-believe dialogue between the tiger's spirit and the Sai performer, the tiger was accused of theft, resulting in its deserved demise. Similarly, the Chongai dance represented a victory over the soul of the paddy, and the ceremony was exclusively conducted by women. It was performed by an individual who had harvested surplus grains over multiple years, far exceeding the household's requirements. During the ritual, village youths assisted in carrying the rice grains and scattered them from the agricultural field to the performer's house. This act symbolized the fulfillment of the performer's duty and served as a thanksgiving gesture to God for the bountiful harvest. Only individuals who had performed this ritual during their lifetime were believed to have an uninterrupted passage to the afterlife, referred to as Mithikuo. The Thadakukis held the belief that a demon named Kulsamnu awaited all spirits of the deceased, tormenting them except those who had performed the Sa'ai or Chongai ritual. Both Sa'ai and Chongai had to be conducted 3 times during a person's life. Salyalaplam, the dance that displayed animal skulls, was performed during the Sa'ai and Chongai rituals. The heads of all jungle animals killed throughout the year were gathered in the chief's house, and a feast was declared for the entire village. This dance aimed to convince the spirits of the deceased animals to acknowledge their belonging to the world of the dead and depart from the land of the living. After the dance, the priest would recite incantations, addressing the spirits of the deceased animals and bidding them farewell. The Sagal Kenkai dance, inspired by the movements of wild boars in the jungle, played a significant role in Thadakuki culture. Wild boars were involved in life cycle rituals, including birth, marriage, and death, marked by their sacrifice for communal feasting. Additionally, wild boars were often sacrificial animals used to reconcile disputes between individuals or families or to settle penalties for defying societal norms and practices. This dance involved participants forming a circle, with both men and women intermingling and moving in a synchronized manner. At regular intervals, they would bend and straighten their knees. 2 men and 2 women would then perform a dance in the center, mimicking the march of a wild boar through the jungle. The folk dances are not merely a showcasing of art, rituals, or an act of recreation. They reflect the cultural lore, orientation, and worldview of the community practicing them. They show what elements are important to the THINGKHO, for example community life, as also the centrality of the wild boar/pig in the customary practices and culture. Land is valued and the agricultural system as a life-giving source is deemed important, therefore, both were highly ritualized and celebrated. The THINGKHO also believed in the concept of a benevolent God who is omnipotent and needs to be propitiated. Their belief in the continuation of life after death is evident from the kind of preparation that is being made for their journey into the world of the dead. The setting stage for folk dances has changed today from the village courtyard to the formal stages either of the state or of a social or political event. Political elements of Shivang Kut. Even in the past, the celebration of Shivang Kut had played a very important political function in the village administration. Any member of a village failing to participate in the post-harvesting festival without a proper justification for his or her absence was considered no longer a denizen of the village. It could affect their membership to the village. It was also a time of the year when a meeting would be held under the leadership of the village chief. The villagers who were excommunicated from the village precinct due to some wrongdoing, or deviant behavior were reintegrated to their village. They were known as Jie Changs, social loners, and they could also be excommunicated from the village due to an illness that was considered to be contagious or unclean. Even on the actual days of the celebration, it would be the Samengpachong, minister to the village chief, who would guide and inaugurate the dancing session. It would be moderated by the leader of the women's group, Nupi Lam. When the Hausa, chief, of the village finally joins in, it is an indication that it is time for the villagers to disperse and the priest would formally close the ceremony. The Hill Valley descent and its implications on the Shivang Kut celebration. There have been varied forms of contestation for land rights between the hill and valley communities in Manipur. The spatial pattern of ethnic groups in the state itself is a major source of contention and discontentment. Manipur's population comprises 3 major ethnic groups, the Métis of the valley, and the Nagas and the Kukis of the surrounding hills. However, the Hill Valley imbroglio is not a recent phenomenon. The hills and valley territories were administered differently by the British administrators on the justification that they both had entirely different customs and languages. On the eve of independence, the Manipur State Interim Council was formed to facilitate a separate hill administrative regulation. The state agencies in the post-colonial period have continued with the system adopted by the colonial rulers while making laws for the hill areas. Even today, Manipur is a society in which there is the presence of multiple ethnic groups, with varied positions on territorial integrity, local governance and dual administrative governance of the hills and the valley. The demand for inner line permit systems regulation in Manipur was fueled by a motive to control migration of outsiders, any non-Manipuris, into the state. According to historians, the ILP, previously known as the Bengal Inner Line Regulation of 1873, was introduced to keep outsiders from entering the hills, to confine the tribals across the inner line and prevent them from raiding the plains, not necessarily to protect the tribals, and to protect the interest of the British Company. However, this line was never implemented in the Manipur state as it was largely autonomous till the year 1891. The ILP movement resulted in the passing of 3 bills in the Manipur State Assembly on August 31, 2015, and this evokes widespread opposition and protest from the various hill tribes of Manipur. The 3 bills were, the Protection of Manipur People Bill, 2015, the Manipur Shops and Establishments, 2nd Amendment, Bill and the Manipur Land Revenue and Land Reforms, 7th Amendment, Bill, 2015. The hill tribes were suspicious of these bills and construe these to be a part of the dominant Métis community's plan to dispossess them of their land by undermining Article 371C and attempting for a uniform law, therefore equalizing the land rights for both the hills and the valley communities by means of the MLR and LR, 2015 Act. The 7th Amendment of the MLR, LRA, 2015 proposed the removal of the very section, 158, which prohibits the sale of land belonging to scheduled tribe to a non-scheduled tribe person without the prior consent of the Deputy Commissioner. Under Section 14A, the State Cabinet is given the final authority/final decision for the purchase of land by a non-scheduled tribe person. As soon as the bills were passed in the State Assembly, there was an upsurge in the hills. Many of the tribes of Manipur, including the THINGKHO, refused to participate in the state-level Kut celebration held at Imphal in the year 2015 in solidarity with the Churachandpur incident. Kut in Imphal was sponsored and organized with the aid of the Manipur government, and therefore, the tribals wanted to dissociate themselves with the celebration. It was also felt that the Impul Cut celebration, which honors the Métis MLAs and political leaders, do not really represent the cultural life and lore of the people. The low attendance at the Cut celebration in Impul was still evident in 2016, 1 year after the grim incident of 2015. Parallel to the state-level Cut celebration, another one was started in Moortown of Chundel district of Manipur. It was shifted to Churachandpur district from the year 2015. The celebration tries to bring back to memory all the practices and elements of the past that were associated with the festival. The chief guest for the event, Mr. THINGKHO, Chief Minister of Mizoram, is carried on a bamboo palanquin as was the traditional practice with village chiefs in the past. The fact that the highest honor was given to the Chief Minister of Mizoram, a political leader in the neighboring state, rather than the political leaders of Manipur, can be construed to be both a passive form of protest as also an identity assertion of their closer affinity or blood ties with the Mizos. Cut as a unifying and reconciliatory mechanism of the state, a failure. In the past, celebration of state-level Cut festival was an attempt to forge unity between the dominant Métis communities and the various tribes of the Kuki Mizo group of people. As is the modern tradition, every year, many political leaders and bureaucrats were made the dignitaries. Even in the state-level Cut celebration 2022 witness participants from many Métis dignitaries, including the chief agent of violence N. Biren Singh and endorser of terrorist group Arambai Tengal Sanajaba. Unfortunately, this experiment to use Cut as a unifying and reconciliatory mechanism has failed, with many CSOs from the Kuki community opting to observe this year Cut festival as a day of prayer for a separate administration away from the Métis. In fact, the Manipur Métis government celebrated Cut by sending Métis police commandos and Medii terror group Arambai Tengal to burn and loot houses at Sinam village in Tengnupal district. These are strong evidence of hatred and animosity projected by the majority Métis against the Kukis. Hence, separated administration is the only solution. Clarion call to all the Kukis. May this year post-harvesting festival bring together the Chinmizo Kuki group of people on a common stage as brethren with a common origin, history, and culture, leading us to identity affirmation as it offers an opportunity to emphasize values, to announce, define, and reaffirm commitment to our people and our way of life. Let not the atrocities committed against us drag us down. Instead, let it be the source of our strength in our fight against Métis tyranny. For the first time in India's independent history, we the Kukis are unable to celebrate the auspicious Shivang Cut festival. We are denied our cultural rights as enshrined in Article 29. Since Shivang Cut is one of the medium of expressing our culture and traditions, the Métis have even denied us our right to freedom of expression as enshrined in Art. 19 of our constitution. Métis community in cohort with the government of Manipur has violated the fundamental rights of the Kukis. We are denied our rights in our ancestral lands. Therefore, all Kukis must resolve to defend our ancestral land and must not settle for nothing less than a union territory so that we may celebrate the next Shivang Cut in a grandiose manner, free from the tyranny of the Métis.